Well, hello everybody, and thank you for signing up for this webinar on truthful consumerism in Asia. My name is Acacia. I'm trend strategist for TrendWatching Asia, based out of Singapore. And today we'll take 30 to 40 minutes to go through our latest TrendWatching quarterly briefing and how it applies specifically in Asia, relating to the happenings of the region and highlighting some of the best-in-class innovations from across Asia as well, that belong under the two consumer truths that are most relevant to the region that you should be grounding your innovations around when navigating this new era of populism, post-truth, and polarization. So just to give you a very brief background of what happens globally in the world as what inspired us in TrendWatching to write this briefing on truthful consumerism. So basically, 2016 was crazy. In the States, you had the arguably unexpected election of Donald Trump. The UK saw the vote of the Brexit. And in Asia, we have some of our own earth-shattering happenings as well. On top of that, the Oxford Dictionary defined their word of the year of 2016 as post-truth. And to give you an example of how this word of the year is really historically always really good in capturing the zeitgeist, if you would, of the year, of what's been happening that year. The 2013 word of the year was selfie. And in 2015, if anybody has any guesses, in 2015, the word of the year was this emoji. And this was selected out of a shortlisted pool of words containing words such as on fleek, and all kinds of words that really signify the state of people and pop culture and consumerism in the world at large. So when even the dictionary says that the word that's defining today's landscape is post-truth, well, what does that mean about your customers, about the people that your brands are actually serving? So the global picture right now, trust in institutions, there is at an all-time low. A lot of people are actually concerned about globalization and the impacts of globalization, the loss of jobs to foreign workers and all these kind of issues. And 53% of people actually think that the system is failing. So in this kind of a landscape, brands are scrambling for a playbook as to how they should navigate the landscape, because when people are angry, people are concerned, the smallest thing can be a cause for concern. And if anybody can recognize what is on the screen right now. So on one side, you have Budweiser in the United States rebranding as America to appeal to the sense of nationalism and patriotism amongst the young people that they would want to target. And as a result, it actually caused a huge backlash, and people were calling them out, saying, why is a non-American brand calling themselves America? That's the most non-American thing that we've ever seen. So as a response to that, what did Budweiser do? During Super Bowl this year, they came out with an advertisement that is pro-immigration. It actually tells the story of the Budweiser founder traveling all the way from Europe to the States, suffering all kinds of immigrants' woes and all these things. And then it caused another backlash. And what happened was that everybody went on Twitter and started calling out for Budweiser to get boycotted. And the most interesting thing about this is that they promoted this hashtag to boycott Budweiser, and it was misspelled. And remember delete Uber, when Uber continued operating when the taxis in New York City went on strike in protest of President Trump's Muslim ban, and everybody was very angry at Uber because it was a sensitive issue and all these things. And so 200,000 accounts went down the drain, and hashtag delete Uber trended all over the internet. And so in an era such as this, one simple move in the wrong direction can actually cost you, 200,000 consumers. And so no brand wants to be in that position. And so we say, in this kind of an era, with this kind of consumers that we are serving, how should brands behave, and what kind of approaches should brands take in their next offering, so as to make sure to still cater to and serve consumers in amazing ways. And this is where we bring this topic back to Asia, because you might see all these examples and you say, oh, but that's a very global picture, but what is going on in Asia, and how is it relevant for this region, and how should we respond as brands operating in this region? Well, this idea is far from being just a Western idea, and truthful consumerism is very much relevant in Asia as well. And these are the three key deep drivers that is fueling this movement in Asia right now. So the first one, we have insecure middle classes in Asia. Yes, in recent years, Asia has seen amazing growth, and as a result, a really big group of middle classes emerged, and it's unprecedented in many ways, and there are so many stories on growth and economic miracles and all of these issues, but deep inside, these middle classes are feeling insecure, and that is the same insight that fuels the phenomenon of Dutertismo in the Philippines, with the current president being elected and being popular, even when he is employing measures that are considered quite extreme in international standards. And all these people are insecure because they think, oh, but what about people who are coming in to take our jobs away? And what about the justice system that's crumbling? What about all these deep-seated issues of corruption and stuff that's been going on in society? And is it ever going to get solved? But at the same time, there is also insane connectivity in Asia. And if you see the numbers, I'm sure you're quite familiar with this, but in Asia, mobile subscriptions, social media growth, it's massive. And if you just see the figures on your screen, you can see that there are more mobile subscriptions in Asia than the rest of the world combined. And there are more social media users in Asia than the rest of the world combined as well. And as a result, what this gives rise to is that people now have a platform to voice their concerns, and not just voice their concerns, but create solutions for billions of people. And the third strand that we have to take note of in Asia is that there are global players in the local backyard these days, and long gone are the days when local players can just copy and paste a successful global initiative and launch it in the local market as a subpar version. Because these days, the whole world wants in on this next billion consumers coming out of Asia. And so you have all these big global players coming in to local markets. And so as a result, Asian innovators now are expected to be world beaters to stay successful. And indeed, with local knowledge, better understanding of the local context, we have started seeing local innovations that are rising up to become world beaters, and local innovators that are addressing very specific issues in the local markets in very innovative, very creative ways. And we shall highlight some of them in the later portion as well. And so with all these three things that we say, so in Asia right now, people are insecure, but at the same time, they are highly connected. And so they have a platform to voice their concerns and create their solutions. And at the same time, we have so many people wanting in on this market. The biggest question for you as a business executive is still, well, then what does my customer want next? And how should I respond in this kind of an environment? What kind of innovation should I create in the market that my customers will still love and will resonate with them? And so it's all this question about having future vision. What do my customers want next? And if you're familiar with trend watching, you would know that our policy on this is that we always say future vision does not come from just asking consumers, what they want. So yes, you can do surveys, you can do focus groups, you can do ethnographic studies, live with them, observe them, and all these things are great. And if you can spend resources to do all these things, that's very good for you. Please. What we believe in is that when you want to know what your consumers will want next, that answer comes from watching businesses instead of asking consumers. So maybe you would ask me right now, what is the relationship between watching innovations and knowing what my customers want next? Well, I'm glad you asked, because the whole point of trend watching here, and we deliver all these things through our portal. So we have a premium database, we do live events, and we, at the heart of our business, we have our spotters network, people who send us insights on the ground on all the innovations that we spot in the market. And again, it's because all these innovations give rise to new emerging expectations. So let's take the example of Uber. Uber is nothing new, but it is so well known, and it is so much used by people these days that it always makes for a good example. Think about Uber and how it has changed your expectations about how fast, efficient, and convenient a service should and could be delivered to your doorstep. And actually, Uber did this study in the United States, that the longer Uber had been in one city, the less willing to wait people become for a car. And they replicated this study in 9 other cities, and they found the same thing, that wherever it is, the longer Uber had been in a city, the less willing to wait people become. And this highlights our concept of emerging expectations, that once you see a new innovation coming out in the market that serves your basic needs in newer ways, making it more convenient, making it more efficient, you will start expecting the same level of service, of product delivery from everybody else. And you would start wondering, if Uber can do it, why can't other people do it and deliver the same level of services for me as well? And so we say, welcome to the expectation economy. And the best-in-class innovators across all industries are setting expectations that get transferred across all industries, because consumers don't exist inside industry silos. So brands should not either. And that's why in the later portion of this webinar, I'll be sharing innovations from across all industries in Asia. And your job is to think about, how are these expectations being created by all these people in all the different industries getting transferred to your own industry, and how you can actually act on that. And just to explain this slide for a bit, if somebody went into a BMW car and they want to turn on the audio system, they're not going to say, oh, how come this audio system is not as user-friendly as the one in a Mercedes-Benz? But they're going to say, how come this audio system is not as intuitive as Apple's iPod, or even the Alexa feature from Amazon? And so when people will subscribe to expectations that are being set across all different regions, across all different sectors. And so it is wise to watch all these different expectations from all the different industries that we are observing. So maybe some of you have read our global piece on truthful consumerism, or you've even watched the webinar on the global piece of truthful consumerism, and you know that we have 5 truths, and we say that no matter how much the world changes, even when people are angry, even when there's this move of populism, polarization, there's post-truth politics going on, there are 5 basic consumer truths that don't change. And as long as you ground your innovations around these basic truths, this consumer truths that are grounded in very basic human needs, your brand will do just fine. And so for the global edition, we highlight 5 different truths, while for the Asian edition, we are going to zoom in to the 2 that are most relevant for the region. And those truths are aspiration and empowerment. So the first one, the future in Asia for your brand, for your consumers, is still aspiration. It's still grounding your innovations around this whole concept of aspiration of your customers. And there are 3 main key points that make up this whole picture of the aspiration truth, in that the first one, in Asia, there is still this race for riches going on. And yes, again, we've mentioned this, that Asia has seen growth incredibly in the past decade, but one consequence of relentless growth is that the standards of living that people aspire to, it just keeps increasing. And so there is always this sense of people thinking that, oh, I'm not there yet. I haven't arrived yet, no matter how much progress I have achieved. And so it's reflected in the statistics that say that actually 60% of middle-class South Koreans still feel like they're poor. And the second one is the race for likes. So once somebody reaches a certain economic standing, then aspiration is not just about financial stability or economic capital anymore, but it's also about this recognition, this search for status from their peers. And these days, as Asia gets even more social media is amplifying this bubble, this race for likes that people are engaging in, because on social media, you can see how people are having such amazing lives on Instagram. And so everybody is on this constant race for more likes and to collect more experiences, to collect more status symbols. And the last one, of course, is the race for self-expression. And as more people have a platform to express who they are, to share with the world what they stand for and all the status symbols they are collecting. And just one snapshot of how this is manifesting in different places. In China, live streaming is all the rage right now. And there are more than 300 million people in China using live streaming apps. To put that into perspective, all of the United States is 300 million people. So just imagine if the whole country is on live streaming. And this makes up a $3 billion industry. And again, to put that into perspective, the Chinese box office revenue last year in 2016 was $7 billion, and it's the biggest box office market in the world. And so this live streaming market is actually making up half of that. And it is a picture of how these days people are always on the lookout to channel their aspirations around self-expression, around likes, around attaining all these aspirational standards of living. So some of the brands that are creating innovations around this race for aspirations. Remember, we have the race for riches, the race for likes, as well as the race for self-expression. Tiger Beer in Singapore launched this fund that supports aspiring street food hawkers. So if you want to start a street food hawker business, or if you are already a street food hawker owner and you want to expand your business, you can actually get this fund from Tiger Beer to expand your business. And it helps all these people achieve their aspiration in a new way, to achieve this aspiration of creating a more thriving business. And again, remember, it's not just about economic capital, but it's also about your race for likes, your race for self-expression. And WeChat, riding on the live streaming wave in China, launched the Ing drone. So this drone is actually a drone that can live stream video, high quality video footages onto your WeChat account in real time. So whenever you talk to somebody, you don't have to just be limited by just words or even pictures or even pre-recorded videos. Now you can send a live stream video to whoever it is you're talking to on WeChat. And some of these examples, again, might seem laughable and might seem like, oh, why is that so weird? Like, who would ever use that? And why did anybody even launch that in the first place? But when you look at all these examples that we are sharing, the point is never just the example on its own, but think about what basic underlying consumer insight that the example actually tells us, and what are the emerging expectations that consumers are going to have when they see these kind of examples coming into the market. So for this drone, it highlights about this whole story of people wanting to find recognition, wanting to feel like they're unique, like their lives are worth sharing. And with the live streaming, it's all about how everybody now can be their own little celebrity and their own little corner of the internet. And it's a way for them to escape their mundane lives and all these things. So to think about how you can serve these people better with your next offerings. The third example that we have is done by Innisfree, the Korean beauty brand. So Innisfree actually unveiled an in-store VR experience for their customers. And in this VR experience, you can go on a date with this popular Korean actor, Lee Min-ho. And so it's about channeling, giving people a platform to channel their aspirations, because in real life 99% of people will never get a chance to go on a date with this actor. But now with virtual reality, the possibilities are endless. And so think about what kind of experiences do your consumers aspire to collect, and can you actually make that happen for them with virtual reality and with new kinds of technology. And you can also refer to our report on the virtual experience economy for more inspiration and on more insights of how virtual and digital experiences will be the next status symbols for your consumers. Ishi Clinic in Japan launched a pop-up restaurant that lets you eat food that actually contains no salt, but if you eat it with this fork, the electric fork can send electric currents to your tongue so that it mimics the taste of salt. And it's a picture of how, when it comes to aspiration, it's not just about riches or expressions or how many followers you have on Instagram anymore, but it extends to all these things about, health and wellness goals. And it is also accelerating that it used to be that being not obese is already good enough and you're healthy enough. But these days you need to get all your quinoas and your kales right. And it's so hard. And for normal people like me, even, it's so hard to keep up with all this changing health standards, and people want to keep up. And so think about how you can actually create initiatives that makes it easier for people to keep up and to hit all their wellness aspirational standards and the kind of lifestyle that they aspire to live. And this is personally one of my favorite examples from Doorstep School in Mumbai. So what Doorstep School does is that they inspire kids in the slums of Mumbai to study harder by actually naming streets in the slums with their names if they perform well in school. And they say that, streets in India are named after famous people. So why not we name all these slum streets after these potentially famous children? And so it gives these kids a motivation to study harder and attain a better standard of living. And so think about how you can even create initiatives that has CSR elements to it, and it really inspires people, it really motivates people to really reach a standard of living that's better than what they have right now. So the light bulb moment for this whole theme of aspiration is basically to think about how can your brand help your consumers race towards their aspirations, or at least facilitate this race towards their aspirations so people can get there faster, easier, in a less painful way. The second theme that we have for today is empowerment. And we say that in Asia, for your brand, for your customers, the future is still empowerment. And this is just a very big picture on trust around Asia, that generally trust in big institutions, so it's governments, media, businesses, as well as NGOs, it's falling. And why? Because again, with connectivity, everybody now has a smartphone-shaped window into the inner working of institutions. So it reveals all the bad, all the ugly, and so it makes people trust all these institutions less. But at the same time, there are revolutionary figures rising up in Asia across all the different countries and the different spheres of life. And these people are promising change. So in government, we have people like the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi in India. We have the Indonesian president right now, Pak Jokowi, who is very inspirational, and they promise to bring change to the country. And in the business landscape, we see all these startup founders campaigning for better businesses and all these things. And so these people are promising change. And so we see in some countries, trust actually is increasing. But at the same time, people also know that the kind of problems that Asia faces is very complex and it's not going to get solved overnight. And one figure, no matter how inspiring, we'll never be able to change, bring change and solve all these things overnight. But at the same time, Asians are also very familiar with the power that a participative lifestyle can bring. And we have all kinds of cultures that promote this, a lifestyle of participating, collaborating, and achieving something bigger as a group than and what you can achieve as a group is bigger than what you can achieve as an individual. And again, with the number of people on social media, the number of people who are connected, now technology is actually fueling this lifestyle. And so now people can connect to people in their extended networks, and so can create citizen-powered solutions to help them realize the systems that they want to see around Asia. So just some examples of the brands, the startups, institutions that are creating innovations around this theme. Kawal Pilkada is a system in Jakarta around the recent gubernatorial elections in the city. So it's actually the system that empowers individuals to bring transparency to the counting of the votes during the election. So individual people can sign up and be assigned to a certain voting post, and they can police the counting of the vote, and they can take a picture of the final results, upload it online, and it will be aggregated, and people can cross-check and make sure that it's all transparent, it's all honest, and so to make sure that the elections go smoothly without any funny business. The Seoul Metropolitan Government implemented the same kind of concept in an arguably more lighthearted way, in that they offer prizes for people who can help spot street sign errors. And so if you see street signs around Seoul and it's misspelled or it's translated into English but it's inaccurate, you can actually report it to the government, and then they offer rewards for you if you can contribute to help them spot all these errors. And so from these two examples, you see how these big institutions are now acknowledging that people want to be involved, and with connectivity, they actually have the power to be involved. And so these institutions are involving them in all these processes, in all these systems, and as a result, it serves the whole community in a better, more efficient, more reliable way than if the institution were to just keep everything to themselves. In India, the recent woes was around demonetization, about how the most popular banknotes were suddenly taken out of circulation, and so people are scrambling to trade in their old notes, and they want to withdraw money from the ATMs, and the ATMs don't have enough cash and all these things, and so long queues formed across all the ATMs, and people were going crazy about all these things. So Cash No Cash is actually an app, and it's a participative, collaborative app that helps citizens access cash. So people can report on the app about the status of each ATM machines near them, telling others which ATM machines actually have the shortest queues and which ATM machines actually have the capacity to handle the demand for cash. So if I needed to go and withdraw cash, I can go on the app, I can see which ATMs are the most available around me with the cash. So it's about giving people the power to contribute to a more reliable information system, and a citizen powered is from the citizen for the citizen. Fenda is an app in China that lets people ask questions to celebrities. But it's not just celebrities. These are basically people with the expertise that these citizens want to tap on. So when it comes to empowerment, it's not just about letting people get involved or getting them, empowering them to get the right information, like how Cash No Cash did it with the app. It's also about empowering people to connect to the right sources of information, and the sources of information that they want to tap into. And in this case, are all these people with all this knowledge. And one of the most popular influencers on this app that people always ask questions to is actually a gynecologist. And people ask the person questions all about pregnancy, how to have kids, and all these things. Kareem is a Pakistani startup that enables Pakistani women to become cab drivers. And so in an era where people are empowered, everybody is connected, expectations around unfair barriers will accelerate, that people will start expecting your brand to do something about unfair barriers in society. And so how can you create initiatives that empower all these people to shatter all these unfair barriers and help them participate in the right way? And if you think, oh, but these are all very government-centric as well as NGO-centric, what about, how does this apply to businesses? Well, Peach and Lily is a startup focusing on South Korean beauty products. And what they do basically is that they launch a product line that is based on community input. So whenever they launch products, they actually get input from their community, like what kind of products do these people want to see, and they will tailor their products accordingly. So think about it. If your customers see a business do something like this and see a business that listens to their customers in such a way, what will they start expecting? They will start asking, well, why don't my favorite brands listen to me in the same way as well? Why don't I have a bigger say in what kind of products and services I really want to see come out in the market? So think about how you can actually let your fans, your brand community, shape the kind of brand that you want to be and the kind of products that you deliver out in the market. All right, so light bulb moments for this whole theme about empowerment is really just think about how can your brand empower consumers to participate and collaborate in whatever it is that they aspire to participate and collaborate in. It can be social activities or even like your brand activities and all these things that they care about. How can you empower them to be able to take part and have a bigger say and affect a bigger change in the society that they care about as people? So we've talked about aspiration, we've talked about empowerment. And I've had people ask me, and I know, so maybe some of you are wondering, oh, are these actually just old news? Aren't these old news? Isn't aspiration something that's always been there for a very long time? Empowerment, everybody would always love to be empowered. So what is new in this? And why are we talking about this now? So if you think this is old news, well, think again, because expectations around what brands should stand for, that's what's changing right now. Maybe, yes, people already have aspirations from a long time ago, but now their expectations around what your brand should do about their aspirations, that's changing. And when they see all these brands in the market helping them achieve their aspirations, helping them channel their aspirations, they will start expecting the same kind of service, the same kind of attention from all other brands. And yes, there will still be consumers in Asia who don't really care about this kind of things. I've also had business professionals come and tell me, oh, but consumers in Asia, they don't really care. They just want you to give them the best product as the best value, the best price. Just give them discounts, and they will be happy. Well, yes, that's also correct. There will still be a group of people who only care about getting the most value out of their money. But think about all these things again, it comes back to the same point that expectations of the larger group of consumers that you are serving, their expectations around what brands should stand for, that is changing, that is evolving. And so for you to stay ahead of competition and for you to know what they will want next, you should be looking into all these different themes that we have covered and the new ways that brands are serving the basic needs and wants of consumers. So that's all the content that I have for you today. And I shall now open up the floor to questions, and we'll see if there are any questions. I shall answer it right now. So if you have any questions or comments or thoughts or feedback, please feel free to drop it into the live chat on the page. So drop it into the live chat on the page, and I will answer your questions from the live page. Oh, okay. So I see that there is one question, so I shall answer this, and then we will wrap up after that. So, okay, we have one question here. What does this mean for luxury brands? Well, we get asked these questions all the time. So I'm from the luxury industry. What does your trend mean for my own industry? Well, the question really goes back to those light bulb moments. It's about thinking who are your customers, because even in the luxury sector, there are different groups of customers, there are different groups of consumers. And so think about who are your target audience, and think about how you can address their expectations around these two themes in innovative ways. So for example, when it comes to aspiration, it's highly relevant to the luxury sector because the whole luxury industry is basically aspirational. And so think about the kind of people that you serve. Who are they? What kind of aspirations do they have? And can you create innovations that will address these expectations around their aspirations in better ways? And how can you empower these people to be able to get the right information that they want about your products, about your services? And so to answer your question, what does it mean for luxury brands? It simply means asking yourself again, who are your customers? What kind of aspirations do they have? And how can you actually create initiatives that help them cater to those aspirations? All right, the second question that I see from the live chat, do you have any frameworks or templates that can help us? For this question, when it comes to frameworks, TrendWatching actually has a framework of 16 mega trends, and these 16 mega trends is basically our map to the consumer landscape, because TrendWatching has been around since 2002, and after 10 plus years of spotting trends, we realized that whatever it is that you spot in the market will always fall into either one of these 16 themes, if you would, of consumers. And these 16 themes will help you to really map the consumer landscape and understand your consumers better. And when you spot innovations in the market, you can benchmark it against the trend framework so that you can get the insights behind this innovation, and you can know how to actually apply and translate this innovation into your own industry, your own business, your own brand, and for your own consumers. So that is one framework that we have to be able to spot trends. We also have a different framework to apply trends, and this is our apply toolkit. So we have in-house developed tools that help you prioritize trends. So from 16 mega trends, and we have 200 plus trends in the database that we've been tracking for 10 plus years. So of all this content, which one should you focus on that is most relevant for your business and your consumers, your region? Well, we have tools to help you do that with the Consumer Trend Radar. And then we have the Consumer Trend Canvas that will help you unpack those trends that you are focusing on so that you can actually translate these trends into your next winning innovation opportunities. And I understand that we have a tab on our website. So if you go to trendwatching.com and you search the apply section, it's there, or otherwise you can always write into us and we'll be very happy to help you see how all our frameworks and all our tools can help you spot trends as well as apply these trends to your own business. The third question that I see on the live chat, how often will this webinar be hosted? That is a very good question. Right now, we are planning all these webinars around the quarterly trend content that we're publishing, so around all the different trend watching quarterly. So this is for Truthful Consumerism that we publish at the end of March, and there will be another round of webinars for our next quarterly. So in that case, you could say that, oh, this free webinars is once every quarter. Thank you so much. No problem. My pleasure. Another question. In terms of transparency and positive impact, what does that mean for sustainability in Asia? Are consumers and businesses here interested in sustainability for social and environmental benefits? That is also a very good question. And if you know our global piece, we have 5 truths, and positive impact, which is all about sustainability, is one of them. And the fact that we are not highlighting that for Asia tells you something. And I'm very sad to say that the reality in Asia right now for a majority of consumers is that people are not as concerned as they should be when it comes to sustainability, positive impact, going for organic products, going for zero environmental impact products. But at the same time, there is an emerging trend, if you would, of people becoming more aware of all these things with the global brain as well, and with people being more aware of the negative impacts of their consumption, and what other people, other brands, other startups are doing elsewhere in the world. And with the wave of new startups that are coming up, and mostly pioneered by the millennials who care about these things, and they create a social venture, responsible travel, and all these things. So with all this coming into the market, it is certainly increasing the awareness that people have about their consumption and everything. And so to answer your question, right now, do people really care about sustainability? I would say they don't care about sustainability as much as they should. We don't care about sustainability as much as we should. But there is a rising trend towards that direction. And so it pays for brands and businesses to pay attention into their processes, into the kind of products that they are launching into the market, because at the end of the day, consumers would not want to have products that harm themselves or harm the environment or harm the planet. So yeah. All right. I see that there are no more questions on the live chat. Oh, are these templates only available for TrendWatching members? If by templates you mean the frameworks that I talked about just now, so the megatrends as well as the applied toolkit, right now, yes, they are part of our TrendWatching premium database. But if you would like to find out more, as what I said, please feel free to write to us, and we'll be happy to set you up with samples as well as trials.